Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned with their marketing. But most important, we share the lessons learned with you. Today, I am super excited to welcome my friend and business bestie, Toby Myles, to the show. Before I read her bio, I almost forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I'm a marketing strategist and consultant, and I work with service based business owners who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to get to that next level in business and have a bigger impact, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. As I said, I am so excited today to welcome my friend and business bestie, copywriter extraordinaire, Toby Myles, to the show. Toby is a strategic copywriter and story coach who helps her clients find the beauty in their stories and use them to build real connections and trust in their marketing. She's all about helping people show up as their most authentic selves without the fluff or the pressure to be someone they're not. This is why Toby and I get along so well. Through her workshops, private coaching, and signature storytelling process, she helps people bring their voices to life in a way that feels genuine and never icky or salesy. With that, I will welcome Toby to the show.
Hey, Kristi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. I can't believe it's taken this long to get you on the show, but I'm really excited for this conversation today. I always love having marketers, especially on the show. I think it lends a whole nother level of credibility when a fellow marketer can share something in their own marketing that didn't go well for them. So I'm so excited to have this conversation. I really appreciate your willingness to come on.
Oh, no, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I always like to start by sharing how I know my guest, and we do this every time. We're like, "How we've known each other
We
forever
can't
now." It
figure it
feels
out. I
like
know.
how did we meet? We're tying it back to LinkedIn.
Mhm.
We think that's where it all started. We actually both had the opportunity to do a virtual talk, right, for Lisa
Yes.
Stambaugh. So I want to give
Yes.
Lisa a shout out for
Mhm.
sure. Lisa was coordinating some speakers to come present virtually to a nonprofit group that she's involved with. And so Toby and I both raised our hands on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I think that's probably how it all started.
I think that was the beginning, and I remember thinking, like, who is this Kristi person? Like, I need to know who she is, And so, yeah, that was like the very early stages of us getting to know each other.
Yeah. And now here we are years later, and we
Mhm.
finally met in person a few
We did.
months back, which was amazing. And it
Yes,
just feels like we've known each other forever
it
now.
does.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the rest is history.
The rest is
But
history.
we've talked about so much over the time that we have been friends and business buddies, but this is actually an experience that we've never talked about. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today.
Okay.
When we were discussing what topic you wanted to focus on for our chat today, you had mentioned that you hired a coach a few years ago,
Mhm.
and you weren't necessarily, in hindsight, you realized you weren't really ready to spend that money, and it ended up not going well at all.
Yes.
So tell us more. Tell us where do you want to start with this
Oof.
conversation?
Well, the one thing I want to say is that as like early entrepreneurs, I feel like there's always that trepidation on investing in ourselves. And what is the thing that we need next, right? There's like so many directions you could go. There's so much out there. There's so many things you need help with that is really difficult to know like what is the next thing. And for me, like I remember my first big investment in my business was buying a $200 copywriting course. And I remember sitting there like I thought about it for like a day and a half and was like a big deal, right? Like to spend like $200 on something like I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know, right? And I think that at least how it's worked for me is that each time I've pushed myself to make like a slightly bigger investment,
Mhm.
200 to like 750. My first sort of mini mastermind, I think, was low thousands, somewhere along the line. And so I think that I start to trust myself, like, okay, I know like what is the thing I need to invest in next. And I pushed myself to bigger and bigger investments. And
Mhm.
I mean, I will say there's not always a direct correlation between how much you spend and the value that you get out of the thing. And so, yeah, a few years ago, I thought, I kept hearing other people talk about coaches, business coaches, and I felt like I was just sort of like just spinning my wheels and could just use some help and some direction. And so I took a chance and hired somebody who I had been following for quite a while on LinkedIn. And it it was one of those ones where, I wish that I had the hindsight as my foresight,
Mhm.
right? Because
Yes.
yeah, I I can't it had more to do with me and maybe less to do with her. Maybe we were equally, responsible, but it was not a good
Yeah.
investment for me.
Yeah. I love this point that you're making, that it can be hard. The first point you're making is like it can be hard to know where to invest because there's so many things that you
Mhm.
need help with as an entrepreneur. So how do you prioritize what is that thing you need the most help with? Where am I going to invest first? And I love that you shared, your own experience of like, okay, I'll just invest a little and then
Yeah.
a little bit more and a little
Yeah.
bit more. And but tell us, I mean, I definitely want to get into this, not a good fit conversation for sure. But I
Mhm.
think before we do that, I
Mhm.
wanted I want to dig a little bit deeper on this idea of like how do we even know where to invest first? Like how have you navigated that on like which when there's so many things,
Yeah.
how do you get to the root of it?
Yeah, it really I mean, this is not helpful for people who are just starting out with that first decision, but for me, it's been, just along the way, like, what is the one big thing I'm really struggling with right now? Um,
Mhm.
is it my offers? Is it my messaging? Is it my marketing? Is it my confidence? Is it my ability to sell? Like, what of those things do I really feel like I'm struggling with the most? And sometimes it takes some experience to know, like, okay, I really see like this is something that I am having a tough time navigating on my own. And
Mhm.
so I think like being open to your self exploration, to sort of like be objective and sort of look at yourself and say, okay, really, like, what am I not doing well? But also being open to when someone offers you a free consultation or a free strategy call or something like that to sort of get a taste of what it would be like to work with them. I think that's huge, right? Like, none of us want to be sold to in that way, but you
Yeah.
don't know until you get on that call with somebody and
Yes.
just see like what do they offer? Do they actually see me? Are they able to see me and see things that I can't see? And so
Yeah.
I have said yes to more of those free, like, hey, hop on a strategy call with me and let's see where it goes. No obligation, no, commitment necessary. Just let's talk for 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's such a great tangible piece of advice for business owners listening is that even if you're lacking the clarity of what thing to invest in first, just start having some conversations with those experts that you think might be the direction you need to head in, and
Hmm.
those really tuning into those conversations and seeing what that person has to offer and how they are listening to you, and
Yes.
are they able to identify things that maybe you didn't even realize that like, oh geez,
Hmm.
yeah, that is a problem, that is something I need help with. I think that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, and I think that that can help at any stage in the journey. So I will tell you, and I think I shared with you a few days ago when we were talking was I did hop on a strategy call with somebody, and really going into it, I thought, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not looking to hire someone right now to help me with anything. I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do. And she heard me talk about some bigger projects that I have that I'm trying to move forward that I just can't seem to get to. And she identified some things that she saw in me in areas where she felt like she could help me take some things off my plate so that I could kind of bring those bigger visions to life. And she was exactly right. Like, I was stuck in the weeds of so many things in my business that I didn't need to be stuck on. And
Mhm.
it's still a work in progress right now, but I'm learning that like it's okay to get help for some things in my business so that I can do the bigger visionary work.
Yes, yes. Awesome. Yes, we did talk about that
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
love that, being open to, okay, I need some help. Let me go out and find some people. And then even, you might get in this place where you're second guessing, like, should I really be talking to this person? Like, why not? Like,
Yes.
at least have the
Right.
conversation,
Yeah.
because they might end up knowing more about you than you know about yourself and having that
Yes.
outsider's perspective.
Yes. And not only that, but if the person truly is just, this is no obligation, you will sense it right away, right?
Yeah.
If they say no obligation, but you really feel like pressure, then they're probably not going to be a good fit. But
Yes.
for me, like that's kind of my barometer. If I get on and it truly is like this person is just, wanting to help, wanting to build a relationship, knowing that maybe we'll work together, maybe we won't, maybe it's not a no, but a not right now kind of a thing. Like that's a vibe that I really resonate with. And that is something that
Yes.
helps me to sort of build trust with that person who I may eventually hire.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. That trust is so important. And not to totally derail us on this conversation, but it just brought up for me, there have been times where I've been on a one-on-one networking call where my understanding was we were going into it just to learn about each other and each other's businesses and see if there's connections we can make for each other, if there's any opportunities for us to collaborate or
Mhm.
refer clients or anything like that. And I've had, luckily not many, but I've definitely had a handful of experiences where those end up turning into like they are pitching me on their services. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, what happened here? Like,
Yeah.
so,
I've had those
sorry.
too. Yeah, it's very off-putting, unfortunately, right? And I do
It
think that,
is.
not that this is specifically what we're talking about, but I think like um it can be a lesson to us to say like that really isn't what a networking call or a discovery call or whatever you want to call it. It really is like, let's get to know each other and go in with the
Yeah.
mindset like, how can I help you? What can I do? How
Yep.
can I refer business to you? What do you need help with right now?
Yeah. And I think the reason that example came to mind was because, like you're saying, like, is it truly a no obligation introductory call? Like,
Mhm.
let's all be clear on what we're doing here and make sure that we're following through on those expectations
Yeah.
so that there's, yeah, to set yourselves up for that, authentic relationship building process, whether it's a networking call or, a discovery call that maybe I just want to learn more about your services and see if it's something that
Yeah.
is a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the days of coaches, especially being able to just put, hang a shingle and put a sales page out there, I think it's become much harder for people in that space, especially because there is a lot of competition. And I do see more and more coaches. I have a client who I just wrote some website copy for, and she offers sample sessions all the time. And that is like a
Mm.
non-negotiable in her business. She knows that it's really important for people to get to know her and her style, and for her to get to know them to see if they're a good fit. And so she looks at it as an investment in her business, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's such a great perspective.
Yeah.
So getting us back on track here, because that
Yes,
was totally
sorry.
my fault. Going down. No, no, no. Don't apologize. It was totally me. I knew I was doing it too. Uh, but getting us back to this experience that you had of hiring this coach, it
Mhm.
sounded like right. I always say on this show, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
It sounds like what you realized from that experience was maybe you weren't super clear on what it is that you wanted or needed at that point in your business. Would you
Mhm.
say that's true?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's true. She was somebody that I very much admired and followed on LinkedIn, and she was very successful in business. She was really more of a LinkedIn expert and coach, I would say, but she did
Mhm.
offer, private one-to-one coaching. And I always told myself if that was something she ever did, I was going to jump on that opportunity. So yeah, I think a lot of it was me just really not being clear on what I needed help with, and thinking that she was going to be the one to kind of drive that ship and guide me,
Yeah.
which really is not how it worked, and probably not even how it should have worked. I think,
Mhm.
as the CEO of my own business, I should have been more clear, or been able to be more clear on, this is what I need to accomplish in our time together, and have it be
Mm.
something very specific. And I was just a little like, oh, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm not really sure. And, so as a result of that, I think she really wasn't sure. She was probably trying to do the best she could for me.
Right.
She had a lot of resources for me, but a lot of it was me just kind of like digging through the resources on my own without a lot of direction from her.
Mhm. It's really interesting because I feel like this is kind of bringing us back to expectations again. Like
Mhm.
setting those like being clear on your own expectations as a business owner. And I think that
Yes.
this can be a common thread through a lot of the guests I have on this show is like, was I really clear going into this arrangement with an
Mhm.
outside provider on what it is I needed to get out of that and what my expectations were in terms of
Right.
deliverables and outcomes and those sorts of things.
Right, right. And I do think that, again, hindsight, as you're kind of going back, if you kind of like go backwards in time and think, okay, what is the problem I'm having right now? And then how from that problem, then how do I find that next right step for me, whether it's hiring somebody or actions that I take? So, a good example of this when I made a right decision about hiring someone was last fall, where I realized like I really need to get more eyeballs on my content. I want more people to come over to my website. Okay, I need to create more content for people to come and see, right? And so I wasn't thinking I had a content problem, but then something popped into my kind of universe through email, a coach that I know, and she was offering this content systems live program where you would walk through a system for creating content on a regular basis and brainstorming and creating your kind of like content hub. And in that moment, when I knew I had a problem, this popped into my universe, and I was like, That's exactly what I need." And so
Mhm.
when I kind of like started talking about how sometimes it takes like a few years under your belt to really know what you need next, it can be sometimes that simple. It's like, really been struggling with this, and oh my gosh, here's somebody that can help me with this.
Yes. And what a great message too for business owners to hear on, and I know that cuz you're so good at email copywriting and that's like an area of specialty for you, right? Like but this is a great lesson in
Mhm.
learning that cuz so often I hear business owners question the value of email marketing and you and I both preach like email marketing is not dead,
Yeah.
it can still be very effective. And this is such a great example of that. You could send an email every single week for 6 months and not hear something. But if you get that person right at that point where they're struggling with the thing that you're
Mhm.
offering, there's really no way to know when that time is going to be.
Right. Right. And if you're not getting people jumping on board, it doesn't mean that they will never buy. It just means that that's not the right moment for them. And I've learned that
Yes.
lesson on both sides of the coin for myself as a consumer, but also as a service provider. I had somebody come to me last year for a VIP day, and she said she had been on my list for like 2 or 3 years, and she knew one day she was gonna work with me when she was ready. She
Yeah.
just wasn't ready, and she kept my name, and when the time came, she's like, "I'm ready." And I loved that story because you hear it all the time, like, it's not never, it's just not right now.
Yes. And the same thing happens. I mean, I've experienced that on LinkedIn. I've had
Mhm.
someone reach out to me in the DMs like, "Hey, when can we get on a call?" Like there's like that one post that just like pushes them over the edge and they're like,
Yes.
"Hey, I need to talk to you." I had this woman reach out to me that way. We
Mhm.
had met at a virtual networking thing in like I don't know, the year prior. And I honestly like I kind of remembered her name, but we had never had like a follow-up discussion or anything. And unbeknownst to me, she had been following my LinkedIn content, but she never engaged with it. She never liked it. She never commented on it. I had
Mhm.
no idea that she was paying attention to me. And she sends me this DM because this one post like hit on her pain point and she's like, I need to finally do something about my website. Like,
Yeah.
can you help me? I'm not addressing my marketing. I'm too busy in my business to work on my business. And like, let's have this conversation. And
Yeah.
it was such a valuable lesson for
Oh, for
me
sure.
in that like okay you have to be consistent because you don't know who's paying
Yes.
attention.
And in those moments when we think, our content or our emails are just going into this giant black hole, is not true. You have to have that kind of grit and determination to just stay consistent because you truly never know. Somebody said, I forget who it was within the last couple weeks, like lurkers or buyers. Like somebody could be watching
Yes.
you and not ever responding or commenting on anything that you do, but they are watching you. So
Hmm.
you gotta stick with it, especially in those moments when you think like, "Why am I doing this? Nothing's happening."
Yes, for sure, consistency is key. There are always people
Yes.
watching that you don't know are watching.
Yes. Yeah,
So
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to like kind of put a pin in that last conversation about the person that I hired. It always stings a little bit when you spend a lot of money and you just say, "Oh my gosh, like that was a lot of money. What did I get out of it?" And
Yes.
there's no way I can get that money back. There's only like the lesson. But I will say that even at the end of that our container where I thought I'm never like hiring someone again, that passes, and I have
Yes.
multiple times, and it has worked out better because I know better, right? And
Yes.
and I know that I can't have the expectation of someone else if I'm not actually ready to also do that same work.
Yes, for sure. And I just want to say that your experience in this particular case resonates so much with me. So I haven't talked about this on this show before. I should do a solo episode, but I had an experience where I hired someone because in my mind, I always watched her and what she was doing, and I saw her enthusiasm and excitement and expertise for this platform that she builds CRMs on. And I was like, okay, when I get to that point in my business of being ready to hire some like to really fully implement a CRM and be serious about it, I'm hiring her and I'm
Mhm,
doing that. And
mhm.
when you shared your experience of watching this person on LinkedIn and you admired their work and
Mhm.
they probably had so much energy and enthusiasm and passion in their, you're like, oh, when I'm ready, like that's the person I'm going to hire for that thing. That's
Yeah,
what brought me back to, I think that can be, I wanted to bring that up because it's got to be that other people experience the same thing where it's like,
sure.
okay, I'm following this expert and I love what they're doing. And it may be that they are the right person to work
Mhm.
with eventually. And it's also worth kind of digging in and going through this process like we started this conversation with. Is this the thing that I really need right now?
Yeah,
For one.
yeah.
And two, the other thing we touched on was at are the expectations aligned? What is it
Mhm.
that I am expecting to get out of this? And let's make sure, let me take this step back and like, even though I'm kind of, I don't know, I think about it as like, it's not the same as like a celebrity crush, right? But it's like,
It
oh,
kinda
you just have
is.
these like stars in your eyes and you're like, this
Mhm.
person is going to do this
Yeah.
thing for me. It's going to be so great. But like, okay,
Mhm.
let's pull ourselves back for a second,
Mhm.
get super clear on our expectations. And it's worthwhile. I know from my own experience, I'm curious if you would say the same. What I should have done in hindsight was talked with other people who offer other solutions to the same problem I had,
Yeah.
at least to give me those other perspectives.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's definitely a very valid exercise. I think we do tend to have kind of like that, you know, fangirling kind of thing. Like that is the
Yes,
person I'm going to work with.
that's what
And
I was going for.
yeah,
That was the phrase I was looking for.
right. And it could be, right? And the other thing too, to piggyback on that is that I think like as entrepreneurs, at least speaking for myself, like I want to do all the things at once. I get very impatient and also excited to like bring things forward, but I am learning, and it's not easy for me, but I'm learning to just pull back a little bit and just say, okay, let me just focus on this one thing for now. Like let me really like accomplish this thing or nail this thing or get the help I need on this one thing. And then I'll move on to the next thing. And so it could be helpful to kind of just keep like your little wish list or something like that, in your project management tool of people that eventually you do want to work with, but maybe it's not for right now. But when I finish, working with this coach, now I see somebody else who I think can help me with some other part of my business, but not right now. Let me, kind of cover this one topic or this one struggle that I'm having for now and then move on to something else. Cause there's always going to be
Yes.
something, right? Like I feel
Yep.
like it's not a one and done. You're not going to hire a coach once or a service provider or a contractor or whatever, just one time and that's it, right? You're going to nail that thing and then you're going to go on to the next thing, right? And then you're going to
Yes.
accomplish that thing and then you're going to be ready for the next thing.
Yes. I love that. And you're not the first person that I've heard that has a business wish list. And when I
Yeah.
heard it the first time, I was like, that is so smart. Like,
Mhm.
there's all these people that I follow that I'm like, okay, when I'm ready, like, that's the person I'm going to hire to do that thing. And so having that, even if it's just like in a notes document, like, okay,
Yeah.
here are those wish list
Yeah.
items that I have for my business and people I think I want to work with.
Yeah.
Prioritize them, get super clear on
Prioritize
what you
it.
need right now.
Right.
And when you get to that step to say, okay, I want to do this project next,
Yeah.
talk with that person and talk to some others
Someone
as
else. Yeah. And for better or
yeah.
worse, the investment, the money piece of it is real, right? And I will say that it's almost like if you go to the gym or you want to start running, right? Like the first day you might run like 2 blocks and think, "Oh my gosh, like I'm about to die. I don't think I can do this." But then you kind of push that edge, right? And the
Mhm.
next time you go, then you can run a mile, right? And then you push that edge. I think it's the same with investing. Like the bigger the investment, not easier, but the better it is for you to then look at another big investment and sort of weigh out like, is this really what I should be investing in? It's not a matter of can I afford it or not, but like, is this really, what I should be investing in? So I think we kind of like condition ourselves to spending that money on our businesses and ourselves, which
Yes.
is so important.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Toby, we covered so many great lessons here in this conversation. Is there any last piece of advice that you want to leave listeners with?
Yeah, I mean, I just think like you're going to have a bad experience. I mean, hopefully, hopefully you don't. Hopefully people don't. Hopefully they just every experience builds on the next. But if it
This show
happens,
exists for a reason.
yeah, exactly. If it happens, like learn from it, lick your wounds, take whatever time you need to take to recover and get over it, but don't let it keep you from investing again. It's just what did you learn from it? And like you said, maybe you need to, instead of just talking to that one person, talk to like 3 people and hear how they would do it, differently and what they would charge to do whatever it is you need help with. So
Yes.
it's still so important. I'll never stop investing in my business, but I've learned from mistakes along the way.
Yeah. You go into each next decision with a new insight and new lesson to apply and making that
Yes.
decision. I
Yep,
love
for
that.
sure. Yep.
Love that. That was great. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Lastly, Toby, if people want to reach out, learn more about you and the work that you do, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn primarily, not so much other social media. So definitely would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. I have some new things coming up in the works all around storytelling. So if anyone wants to hop onto my email list so they get to hear about those things when they go live, you can go over to my website, tobymyles.com, and get on my email list, and you'll be the first to know when something new comes out.
And Toby's emails are great, so just
They're
go ahead and give them a listen
entertaining, if
anyway.
nothing else.
Yes. They're so good. I love them. I love them. Thank you so much, Toby. I appreciate your willingness to come on
Mm,
the show.
thank you. It was fun, Kristi.
It was. All right. Till next time.